If I gave a fuck what y'all think I would be doing this? Welcome to the FMFU podcast, the podcast that's from me, for us. Vulgar but true, real and never fake. I'm your host, Reese, and I've got a lot of shit on my mind today, so let's get into it. Happy Friday, people, and welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast that's from me and for us. The month of October has arrived, and it has arrived upon us quicker than a New York fucking minute. I remember back in May when my daughter was talking about Halloween and trick-or-treating and what the hell she was going to dress up as because it's her favorite holiday. And I used to always tell her, girl, you got 5 months for that. But now look at us. Boom. Less than 4 weeks away. It's crazy, but to no surprise, as we, the urban millennials, should already know how the time goes by quickly in life, especially our adulthood. Besides time passing quickly, I think another thing that sticks out and rings true is that no matter how quickly the time goes by, certain things will always stick with you, even if it's something that's all the way from your younger youth. Take, for example, when I was younger, I'd stay the night over my grandmother's house. I used to have a cousin who I was really close with who would come over a lot. And when he came over, sometimes he would do things that she didn't always approve of. Nothing too out the ordinary the kids do, but just, small things like, being out in public and climbing or walking on some shit you're not supposed to. Typical kid stuff, right? But noticing this, my grandmother used to tell me, man is my family nickname. Henceforth, I pretty much always felt like that I've been the man. But anyways, she'd be like, whatever you do in life, make sure you're never a follower. You don't have to always do what you see someone else doing. For me, this is one of those things that has stuck with me for a lifetime. Henceforth, I don't follow the crowd, and I simply do me. Comparing this to some of the stuff I see today on social media, I gotta say this. Some of y'all are some following motherfuckers. Now, this whole y'all being followers thought process, it stems from a lot of things. But before I get to my point, I have to say this. Now, we know that trends happen which make things popular, so a lot of people flock to it. This will cause people to buy some of the same clothes, buy some of the same shoes, shit like that, which, if it's a trend and if you truly like it, then good, cop it. I would be a hypocrite if I said I didn't do that. But a trend and liking it because you truly like it is something totally different than just copying or having your thoughts reflect something because of what another person thinks. One thing happened recently that made me really realize that most people don't think for themselves logically before making conclusions and just tapping the shit out of their iPhone and posting their sheep-ass status. So everybody on the World Wide Web was anticipating something very big. And after 5 long years, it finally happened. The Carter 5 finally released. We know it's been held up for a long time because of the contract issues with Wayne, Birdman, Cash Money, whoever the hell else, but apparently they moved on from it. After the resolution, the announcement was made by Lil Wayne himself that it was dropping on his birthday, which is September 27th. Lil Wayne fans rejoiced everywhere. I'm probably one of the biggest Lil Wayne's fans there is, so of course hearing this announcement, I was hyped to hear that, we're going to finally get a new Lil Wayne album. It's been a long time. But as the album was looming, I started to see follower-type thoughts that continued to piss me off. The first thing that pissed me off was that, Wayne said it was coming out on his birthday, which is September 27th. But it actually didn't come out on the 27th. So because of this, people were all like, oh man, where's C5? He said on his birthday it was dropping. I'm seeing fucking posts on Snapchat and shit like, no Carter 5 yet. eye roll emoji. You know, then niggas commenting on statuses talking about shit like, man, I heard it wasn't coming out until next week. I heard this. I heard that. Nigga, you ain't heard shit. You talking about you heard like you were part of the Young Money camp and you discussed it with Mac Main, Wayne, or one of them niggas yourself. You read what you think is going to happen based off of other people's Facebook posts. Now, what got me so upset, because I know you're probably thinking, well, shit, my nigga. Why you so mad about that? He said it was dropping on his birthday, but it didn't drop on his birthday. That's true. But what pissed me off about these conversations was because in my line of thinking, and I'm told you I'm always the thinker, I'm thinking to myself like, dog, use your fucking brain. In this streaming digital age of Apple Music, Spotify, and Tidal, what has all been held true about any and every album that comes out? All fucking albums drop on Friday now. If you think about how it used to be back in the day with CDs, when we used to have to actually go to the store and buy them, they used to drop on Tuesdays. Now, with all your digital streaming services, new music drops on Friday. So because nobody seems to use their brain and think why the album didn't drop, everyone they seem to only complain. Why are you so up in arms without using your brain and doing a little bit of fucking research? Google is free. It was mad annoying because it's all I was seeing on every fucking social media site for the whole day of September 27th. Still no C5. Eye roll emoji. Like, shut the fuck up. So that was like my first main gripe about followers. But since we're on the subject, let's talk about the Carter 5.
It's the FMFU podcast, bitch.
I think if talking about the album itself actually brings up my next point. So hey, fuck it, let's get into it. Friday the 28th comes. The album's drops. Okay? And off of one listen, only one, not giving it 2 listens, not giving it a whole 24 hours, 48 hours, not giving it a week to marinate, how I think people should really review albums, people immediately start going on their binge talking about here we go. Carter 5 trash. This shit suck. I was expecting an old Lil Wayne. Like, really, nigga? You were really expecting Wayne to come out with the 5th edition of the Carter and be on the same exact par as the Carter 2? How fucking dumb does that sound? Now, most people are like, well, the hype was so real, I thought Wayne was going to come back with that blue fire and it'd be like back in the day and shit. Back in the day is over, my nigga. Let's be real. Lil Wayne, as I said earlier, is one of my favorite rappers of all time. But for me personally, I've always been one that has said that Weezy F Baby is better than Lil Tunechi. And if you think about it on a timeline type scale, Lil Tunechi came about around, I'd say, Carter 4. So I come with 2 conclusions. One, you're not as big of a hip-hop head as you claim to be, and you don't know to not expect the best album of all time and just appreciate that some Lil Wayne is finally coming out. Or 2, you're a sheep and only got super hype based off of the hype that everyone else was putting out, and you reciprocated that energy off of each other. Like everybody's saying the Carter 5 doesn't compare the old ones. Like I said, shut the fuck up. I also think one thing we do, and I think this is another follower trend as well, people throw that word trash out way too fucking loosely. Like, something will be decent and it's trash. Like, I see the word way too fucking often, and it's just ridiculous. Because, that's all I'm saying. Carter 5, trash. Like, trash means something just totally fucking sucks. Like, maybe one of these newer rappers who don't rap, or 22 Pew Pew or some dumb shit. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to name any new rappers or say they're trash because, like I said before, and I've always said, I'm never going to call anybody something if I've never listened to nothing of theirs. So I'm not going to name anybody. But to say it's trash that's just so disrespectful. Carter 5 isn't trash. And honestly, to me, it actually sounds like Wayne is showing a little more growth. He doesn't sound high on every song, and he sounds more clearly spoken. We know how it is when we compare people's drug-fueled, quote-unquote, golden year music to their sober growth music, and it's never the same. But that doesn't mean that it's trash. Just look at Eminem and the things I discussed about with Kamikaze. I mean, this has been said numerous times, and people can agree with this. M doesn't have the same exact sound and feel as his first 4 albums, but that doesn't mean his new albums are trash. They just not the best album compared to earlier work. But M is another topic for another day. After listening to the Carter 5 for a solid week, which is how I normally do my reviews, because sometimes the more I listen to it, the more I get from a track, whether it's because I listen to it through beats, or then I listen to it more in the car, or I'm paying more attention, whatever. Like, the more it goes on, like, I hear more and I can make a final judgment about it. But I will say that after giving it the solid week to listen, I'm going to say that I truly fucking enjoy it. I think the album hits all cylinders. Like, it's a little bit of flavor for everybody, but it doesn't stray away from rap and have like a total B-side like Scorpion. Like, you got some songs that have an old Wayne feel. You've got a couple tracks with some throwback samples. Like, Uproar makes me want to Harlem Shake, and Dope Niggas, that just makes me want to listen to Explosive off of Dr. Dre Chronic 2001. You got a storytelling track, Mona Lisa, with Kendrick Lamar, and I'm sure everybody is probably already deeming Mona Lisa as their favorite song on the album. There's always that one song that you listen to and you like, yeah, everybody and their mama gonna love this shit. That's like when Dedication 2 mixtape dropped back in 06 and everybody had No Other featuring Joel Santana on their MySpace page. Same type of deal. But then you got some cuts that appeal more to the ladies with singing on the hook. Like the track with Nicki. I love it when Nicki sings because she's very talented. I think, honestly, she should probably do an all R&B type album. I think she could pull that off. Kind of like, Jack of all trades. Kind of like a Drake type deal. But I think one of my favorites on the album, and not just on those singing shit for the chorus, but overall, is that Famous with his daughter, Reginae. Like, how crazy is this nigga got a song with his daughter? Like, I remember back in the day when he was on maybe The Source or Double XL, when he took that pic, and he was only like 16, and he was holding her as a baby. Like, shit is fucking wild. But overall, it was a good album, and I'm still enjoying it throughout this week. I heard some other thoughts too that they said they thought the album was too long, and I disagree with that only because, it has been 5 years. Like, if we've been waiting for your music for so long, like, don't give us no 7-track sample after years of waiting for you to drop, good music. But all seriousness, think about it. When niggas were buying albums as actual compact discs, like, it used to be like a minimum of 16 tracks. And sometimes even more when they included hidden bonus tracks. I remember the first time I realized Jigga My Nigga was a hidden bonus track on The Life and Times of S. Carter Volume 3. And the only way to hear that shit is you had to continue letting the track play after the Hova outro ended. Like, I don't even know how I found this shit, but when I discovered it, like, the shit blew my mind. It's like, nigga, how you got hidden songs on here? It was like a secret level in a video game. Now, since this is the CD era and you playing your shit either on your Walkman or your little boombox or whatever, it's not like nowadays where you can look on your iPhone and realize that, the outro track is 9 minutes long with 7 minutes of time left after the Hova song actually ends. So it was really like a treat. But anyway, my point is that, although it might not be as good as its predecessors, Carter 5 is a good, enjoyable album. To say that Carter 5 is trash is just being politically incorrect and something that just seems to be said since everyone else is saying it. Remember, with times always changing, hitting the mark isn't always an easy task as a creator. Trust me, not every podcast episode of mine that I put out is going to always be super dope. You might like episode 5 and think episode 19 sucks. Hey, I'm sometimes feel the same way about my own shit, but it is what it is. And even if we look back on some whole shit, we could say 444 isn't better than a Blueprint, but nobody is deeming it trash. You just riding the hype train just like everybody else. So the Insecure season finale went down last weekend. I was actually surprised it was the season finale because it was only like episode 8. I thought like damn, they can't even give niggas like 10 episodes though. But the whole synopsis really on how the episode went was like, the nigga Nathan ghosted Issa for over a month, and then, at the end of the episode, this nigga pops back in her life out of nowhere because he wanted the chance to try to explain himself and also shoot another shot. I'm sure a lot of ladies out there have been in situations where you were talking to a dude and out of nowhere, poof, this nigga just disappeared on some fucking Houdini shit. Or shit, honestly, you might have even been the one who has done the ghosting on the dude yourself. There's plenty of y'all out there that done spun a nigga. Y'all be texting for a couple weeks and you just quit hitting a nigga up because your baby daddy back in your life or the ex nigga who's back giving you some dick. Who knows? But back to the show, it just seems that no matter what the women of Insecure do, they never had a shit together when it comes to men, no matter how hard they try. I think this is something that a lot of women, especially women of color, feel they can relate to. I know y'all agree because the way some of y'all be on y'all key on y'all Twitter statuses. I had one girl a couple weeks ago. This girl on Twitter, she was trying to dog Lawrence because he caught fire talking about men handle heartbreak so wrong, it's pathetic. But at the same time, she was trying to act like Issa's hoe phase wasn't the same as what Lawrence was doing. But Lisa didn't catch nothing and wasn't burning in the pussy. I'm like, first of all, women never want to keep the scales the same. Whether you caught some shit or not, it doesn't matter. They were both out here being hoes. Period. Lawrence just got hit with a burner and she didn't. That's it. But as I stated before, Insecure is such a dope show because it definitely is something that represents how the culture thinks, how we act, and how things are nowadays when it comes to being hip and dating as an urban millennial. However, I think there are times when shows like Insecure has somewhat led us astray, but at the same time, I'm still torn on me actually saying that and believing if whether that's a fact or not. The reason I'm saying I'm torn is because I read an article the other day, and this article stated that new research shows that millennials are better at marriage, but only an increasingly select few are tying the knot. It says this because it is being reported in that same article that the overall divorce rate in the U.S. has declined by 18% between the years 2008 and 2016, and this statistic is being driven by millennials. So when I see an article like this, I immediately think, wow, magazines are actually giving millennials credit for something instead of blaming us for everything that the boomers fucked up for us? But you know what I mean? Them goddamn millennials, they don't want to work, they don't want to do shit. Nah, nigga, y'all fucked this shit up for us, man. We fucked. But when it says, millennials, and when I'm reading certain magazines, I mean, unless the shit's like something, FUBU, for us, by us, it always triggers, and I gotta think, these magazines, they aren't FUBU. They aren't FMFU. So the real question is, who's contributing to this decline? Does this apply to us, the urban millennials? Or is this just the white people? So reading this, it made me think that there probably is a good reasoning behind the divorce rate declining. What the fuck? Besides just being in love. One is that millennials are a lot smarter than our counterparts from the previous generation when it comes to choosing partners. Now, before anyone who is older is listening and ready to throw their phone, hear me out for a minute.
It's the FMFU podcast, bitch.
If you've been rocking with me for the long run, you can probably remember how I discussed a while back in episode 6 called Adulting in the New Millennium about how being an adult nowadays is a lot harder than back in the day. The main reasons discussed were because of, cost of living, continuous rising home prices, more expensive gas, more bills, anything you can think of. Come to find out, based on the research, a lot of millennials are holding off on marriage until they are financially stable compared to decades ago when women, their only dream was to get married by the age of 22, have a bunch of kids, and be a housewife. When you factor in everything, the divorce rate is declining because people can't afford to get married in general. And even after the marriage happens, if you want to leave, niggas can't afford to get divorced. What J. Cole said on Brackets, half, bitch, you crazy. Fuck, bitch, you better say half my dick. Like growing up as a millennial, unless you were, silver spoon bred or brought up with no sense of anything, most millennials are going to make smarter decisions about who they choose to marry because of financial reasons. The article somewhat confirms this theory that I had in my head by stating that 75% of women in their early 40s with bachelor degrees are married. Conversely, only about half of women with a high school degree or less are married at the same age. I mean, this article basically says, ladies, get your shit together. And the more so likely a man's going to want to marry you because he sees your success and not someone who will be a burden that he'll have to take care of and, treat you like a child. But jumping out the article and looking back at myself and anything else, or any of my friends or anybody who I can think of, I look at both situations. I look at ones where there was somebody who got their shit together, and then I look at the ones who might be with somebody who don't got their shit together. And it's like a total 360. And the ones with the women who don't got their shit together, it's always, it's not the good one. Let's put it that way. So like I said, the statistics made sense based on what I saw with the article. But I think also too, millennials are getting smarter because we've seen how it's been done wrong by previous generations. Like, we know what it is to look thirsty, quote unquote. We don't want to be getting used. Like, you don't want to be the nigga to take the girl out for dinner and then she go fuck her ex nigga after she leave you, because that shit happens. Oh. I look at old heads I used to know at my old job. Like, you know how many of these old cats I personally know and I used to work with when I was on the railroad? Like, they had wives that were like ex-strippers and shit like that. That's because them old bastards ain't give a fuck about their money and was only looking for a good time, or they wanted someone to take care of. These young chicks know it too, or these urban millennial chicks, I should say. Why do you think these girls always looking for a sugar daddy, or they got their Cash App name in their status, or in their profile pic, or wherever, but, they don't want to give any sugar? It's not a coincidence. But yo, shout out to all my young and my older black newlyweds out there. It seems like every time I turn around, like every week goes on, like I see someone I graduated Hampton with, or somebody I attended Hampton with for a short period of time. Either they getting their knee dirty, or for the ladies, they getting this, they significant other getting their knee dirty for them. So it's always a good thing to see. Positively pushing towards positive progression, people. Message. Venom drops today, and I'm not really sure how to feel about it. I'm not sure if it will be able to hold its own in telling an origin story as him being the main character without Spider-Man being involved. I know there are lots of stories where Spider-Man isn't involved, but when it comes to Marvel movies, I feel like they're only done right when they are under the Disney Marvel Studios umbrella. Sony just hasn't been up to par on a consistent basis. Fox, the other studio that runs Marvel movies, they've been doing a pretty good job holding down like the X-Men for as long as it's been, especially with the recent Logan movie that came out and the last two Deadpool movies. Those were all super dope. Fox hasn't been always super consistent because when they came out with X-Men 3, that shit fucking sucked, but this was more back before the superhero thing took off. And looking forward to this Dark Phoenix shit that's about to drop. I don't think that's going to be as promising as well. Also, they fucked up that X-Men Origins Wolverine with the first Deadpool, which that nigga looked like, Baraka from Mortal Kombat 2 and shit. And why the fuck did they put Michael B. Jordan as the Black Human Torch for fucking a Fantastic Four reboot? Now, I understand trying to be diverse and we all want to be included, but come on, man. That was fucking stupid. And I hated X-Men Apocalypse. I knew Fox was really starting to get on trash when Mystique started to become one of the main characters in their franchise. Mystique is cool, but really though, nigga, Mystique, she's only a staple because Katniss Everdeen is the actress playing as her. But I tell you this though, Marvel fans should rejoice because when that deal where Disney acquires some of Fox finalizes, all the X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four are going to be under the Disney Marvel Studios umbrella, and the continuity will continue to infinity and beyond. Word to my man Buzz. This isn't exactly what happened with Sony, as Sony, they had their emails leaked, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 was just super trash. Like, I know we was talking about just throwing that word out there, but that shit fucking sucked. It was terrible. But that shit being so bad was a blessing in disguise because it led to Sony scrapping their Spider-Man future and loaning them out to Marvel Studios to use within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thank God for that fucking failure, because having him in his own Spidey universe under the Sony umbrella was cool, but it definitely is a good look to see him linking up with the Avengers, and the timing played out perfectly. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. Goddamn, the tear-shedding moment right there. But as I've said before, Spider-Man has been my favorite superhero since forever. I think it's all because of, the animated show that used to come on TV and the mass amount of unique enemies he has to face while swinging through the skies of New York. Plus, he talks mad shit, just like Sonic the Hedgehog. And everybody knows I'm an asshole on the low, so it's all very relatable to me. So when my copy of Marvel Spider-Man exclusively for the PS4 arrived in the mail a day before the game actually dropped about a month ago, I hit a damn backflip. The way the game starts right into the action, the way you can get lots of suits, gadgets, and abilities, the storytelling, you could tell that Marvel Studios was super involved with this game, because the game's story could be a great movie within itself. This is definitely the beginning of a Marvel gaming universe, and I can't wait to see what hero is going to be starring in the next game. But one thing that isn't hard to miss, besides Xbox only having like one good exclusive, is that the comparisons to the Batman Arkham series. While the game definitely takes some inspiration from the Arkham series, it does so in its own unique way by not having the same feel of being Batman. You feel more acrobatic like Spider-Man while fighting compared to Batman, who is, more stationary and just uses, his expert training counters and just, beats the shit out of the bad guy. If I had to compare the two games and give ratings, I'd give both a 9.5, because no game really deserves a 10 unless it's Grand Theft Auto 4 or Grand Theft Auto 5. But the comparisons of these games seem to have sparked a little bit of conversation, and it served as a content to a meme from Facebook. So this meme goes: Peter Parker versus Batman, both in their prime, no suits, no gadgets, just hand-to-hand combat. Who you got?
It's the FMFU podcast, bitch.
I remember back to episode 3, I had some guests on and they had a huge debate about what cinematic universe was better, whether it was the DCEU or the MCU.
The whole fucking Justice League, what the fuck did they do? They didn't. They didn't do anything. They're so fucking dry. First of all, the Flash didn't know what to do with. The Flash is tripping over his feet. He didn't know what.
Well, they were supposed to, but of course niggas always get off topic and start bringing up shit that isn't relevant to the initial topic brought up at hand. But I think we can conclude by now that because of the weird upcoming Joker movie and then DC losing their Batman and their Superman actors, the DCU is done. Like, that shit sucked. Like, it's over. Like, it's fucked up. Like, they just, I don't know what they're gonna do. But I never jumped in on that debate in episode 3 because, I was more so playing, the mediator, moderator, whatever fucking word, whatever role. I was playing the Molly, whatever her name is for that shit. So I wasn't taking no sides. I'm open to hear all valid points, that made sense and, let everybody get their points across. But for this topic today, it's all me. So, anytime I bring up a point, whether it's anything, and like I said earlier, a lot of times women don't like to keep the same scale when it comes to things. Well, me, I like to keep the same scale, keep that same energy, whatever you want to call it. I always try to have an unbiased opinion. We have to remember when we look at situations like this that, these comic book creations, these heroes, these scenarios and everything, it's all fiction. So you can't always necessarily put everything on a fact of what it would be. But at the same time, you have to incorporate some type of fact to validate your point, right? So I look at it in a scenario where it was in their prime Batman versus Spider-Man. I would have to say, if the time was there to prep, plan, and they use their suits, powers, whatever else, I don't think nobody's beating Batman. He got all the motherfucking money. He got all the gadgets plus strength to take down Spider-Man. He'll have anything prepared to stop whatever Spider-Man could throw at him. I mean, the dude went up against Superman and almost took him out. So, telling me he couldn't win against Spider-Man with the time is pretty much a big fucking lie. However, in this scenario, with no gadgets and basically just two motherfuckers fighting in some MMA type draws. No homo. Bruce Wayne ain't fucking with Peter Parker. The reason being is that even though these niggas would be in their MMA type draws, no homo, with no suits or gadgets, Peter still got that strength from being bit by the radioactive spider. I mean, this guy can stop super fast moving fucking cars. Like, Bruce ain't no hoe. And I mean, he's basically a genius. And I know he know how to like fight really, really well. But honestly, without any bat toys, he ain't touching Peter Parker. I think this was an interesting pair to talk about, honestly, when I seen it on Facebook, because most people only compare, Batman versus Superman. Or they'll compare the DC heroes to their Marvel counterparts. Batman is a billionaire with all the money. Iron Man is a billionaire with all the money. Wonder Woman is like from back in the day, so it's like she's technically super old, you know what I mean? As, Captain America got frozen and he's technically, super old, whatever, you want to compare. That's typically how people do it. But the reasoning why it was not only interesting, but I think it was relevant to me is that if you look up the most popular superhero characters, and every site has different scales and different things like that. So I tried to look at more than one. But for the most part, what I got is that for the most popular, you'll see that Batman is number 1 and Spider-Man is number 2. Now, this isn't a list of the strongest, but just the most popular. And knowing that, it isn't surprising that these two would have some of the illest superhero video games to come out for the Xbox and the PlayStation. So, in the end, hopefully, the DCU can get their shit together in the future, because niggas was rooting for a DC-type Marvel universe. I'm kind of mad we don't got it. And if one we got is pretty fucked up. So, these niggas need to get it together. Assholes. Thank you for listening to the FMFU podcast, the podcast that's from me and for us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and comment, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Also, make sure you get at me on my social media pages. I have a Facebook page, which you can search for From Me For Us, or you can leave it in a status at FMFU_podcast. Also, get at me on Twitter and Instagram at the same @names. That's at FMFU_podcast. Remember, people, always keep it a buck, always keep it 1,000, and perception is everything. I hope you have a nice day. Still fuck y'all.